Oh, hell yeah. St. Pete phone number.
That's right, brother. How you doing, Bert?
Good, good. I know exactly where you are.
Yeah, I bet you do. I think you've been up here a few times. I'm just down the hall from your buddy Mike.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Right on. I'm Ethan on the Eagle here in Tampa. Bert Kreischer, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing absolutely fantastic.
I'm glad I got in touch with you because when I was just about calling you back a second ago, I looked at the wrong number, and I think I was dialing a spam number that had called me, and so it was about to be a much more interesting conversation with the wrong person. But
how great would that have been if you had a really ballsy spam guy, and he's like, yeah, I'm Bert Kreischer. What do you want to hear?
That would have been hilarious. I'd be like, all right.
I'd like to share with you.
Tell me the machine story. You got to prove it now.
Yeah.
Hey, how did you hook up with my other favorite comedian in the world right now, Tom Segura? First of all, he is just the cutest guy ever. Like, every time I see him go, meow, I just want to run up and, like, pinch his little cheeks. How did you and him become best friends?
We worked with a comedian named Jay Moore, and we met at the Brea Improv. What was interesting is Tom was in the green room already, and Jay could be a little salty at times, and Tom was watching a Florida State game, and I walked in, and I went, I went to Florida State, and Tom went, I'm a Florida State fan, and I was like, oh, cool. And Jay walked in, he's like, why is this on the TV? And Tom goes, oh, I got money on this game. And Jay goes, you have money on this game? And Tom's like, yeah, $100. Jay goes, you're a host. You're making $50 a night, and you spend $100 on the gambling. And he walked out. He goes, you're an idiot, and walked out. And I looked at Tom, and I was like, hey, welcome to the tour, man. And so we've been friends ever since.
I love it. Well, he is definitely one of the funniest guys out there. And you two, I think, were destined to be best friends from the beginning because your personalities are just... I love Two Bears, One Cave. It's one of my favorite podcasts.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people will ask, and he's friends with a lot of pro athletes, a lot of football players. A lot of them will ask, like, because majority of athletes are kind of quiet people. They'll be like, "How are you friends with a guy like Bert? Like, he's so loud." It's interesting. Our personalities, we appreciate in each other what we don't have. Like, I love the fact that Tom does not need to speak; that he can be silent and listen to people. Like, and he can befriend anybody, and I can't do that. Like, I always have a hard time making friends because I'm a little bit of a loud, somewhat obnoxious, somewhat aggressive or abrasive personality. And so I feel like, just being around Tom, people go, oh, then I guess Bert must be a good guy.
See, I would have figured you would have been the one to make friends a little easier because I have some tendencies similar to you where, like, I'll run up to a group of people and be like, hey, who wants to do shots and go skinny dipping, and then just run off before anybody answers. And I've always made friends that way, and I thought you would have been the same kind of thing personally.
No, I have intimacy issues. So, like, I can do that, but when it comes to, like, the person going, hey, man, we should hang out, I always go, yeah, and just don't return their calls. Tom is the guy who I go up to the table, and I'm like, hey, let's all get naked and do shots. And then Tom slides up and goes, hey, man, I'm Tom Segura. His name's Bert. He's a cool guy. Hey, we should go hang out and play golf. And, that's who Tom is. He's very, like, he has the most eclectic group of friends, like, meaning like just people where you're like musicians, rappers, athletes, like and he's genuine, and which I'm genuine, but I'm not as good as Tom is. Like, I don't trust everybody. Like, I trust a handful of people, and those are my friends, like Rogan, Burr, Segura, Joey Diaz, Sebastian. Like, there's a group of people that I'll reach out to and I'll talk to privately, but Tom has a much wider net.
He seems like he would be one of those guys. You had a bunch of friends join you on your Netflix show, The Cabin, though, and a couple of them you got naked in the hot tub with. How did you pull that off?
Oh, bro, I got naked a lot. I didn't even realize I forgot so much about the show because we filmed it, and then it came out during the pandemic, and I didn't really do press to promote it because you didn't need to do press because everyone was home watching Netflix anyway. And so what's interesting to me is I don't remember a lot of that show because we were just drinking and smoking weed the entire time. And I was doing an interview with Miss Pat and my wife, and Miss Pat said to me, oh, yeah, I saw you naked. And I was like, when have you seen me naked? And she was like, are you being serious? And I was like, when? And she goes, at the cabin, when me and you offended Kaylee Cuoco. And I was like, oh, my God. all of a sudden I flooded back with like a bunch of embarrassing memories, and I'm like, oh my God, I definitely got naked in front of you. I got naked in front of Kelly Cuoco. Like I got naked in front of everyone, and then me and Miss Pat kind of got into a fight with Kelly Cuoco from she was on that sitcom. I forget the name of the sitcom. It was like the Big
Bang Theory.
The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, we just did a podcast about it, and I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that. So yeah, I got naked in front of a lot of people. I think I grew up in Florida, so that's like getting naked isn't a big deal in Florida. Like I think, everyone gets naked and jumps in the water, jumps in a lake, and goes bobbing at 2 a.m. I just never saw getting naked as an issue until the Me Too movement came out. And then I was like, I got to really.
I'll be honest. If I was doing a show with Kaylee Cuoco, I probably would have gotten naked in front of her too and just been like, and been rejected harshly. Yeah.
Kaylee Cuoco is a very sweet person that me and Pat kind of ran shotgun blast all over. And because we were drunk and it's like, and Pat, if you don't know, Miss Pat's a black woman from Atlanta who's an ex-felon, got her nipple shot off in a drug deal. Like she's a tall drink of water, and you put the two of us together and we can be aggressive, to say the least.
You're the kind of guy, and I know you used to do this when you were doing stand-up in smaller clubs, where at the end of the night, you'd be like, hey, who wants to go to the bar and drink? Do you still do that every now and then and forget that you're doing shows in front of thousands of people and end up with like this huge party at a place?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we shut down a mall in Australia. I did that in Melbourne. I was like, yo, I'm going to go drink at this place. And the place happened to be in the mall, and they had to shut down the mall because we just overtook it. I just love – look, when I was in Florida State, we went to the TPC over in St. Augustine to watch I think it's in St. Augustine. It's the tournament over by Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
And John Daly was there, and John Daly was at the bar, and he was drinking beers, and he was super accessible. And he's one of the best golfers to play golf ever, in my opinion. And he was super accessible, and we did shots with him and drank a beer with him. And I'll never forget it. As long as I live, I remember thinking John Daly was generous enough to give a couple minutes out of his day to make eye contact with me, laugh, do a little giggle, take a shot, take a picture. I mean, I wish we had cell phones back then, but take a picture. And I thought, man, that's how you want to be if you're a celebrity. Like, that's who I connect with, is the guy, Bill Murray, who shows up at a fraternity party, does shots, then does their dishes. That still being a very real person. I think so many people in this business forget why they got in this business, get famous, and then detach from the people that got them there, that I just go, I don't ever want to be that guy. Like, if I go out and do a show, I want to make sure everyone knows, like, I'm not going to charge you for a meet and greet. What I'll tell you is, if you really want a picture, I'm going to this bar. I'll take as much time as you need for me to take a picture. I will hang out until 2 a.m. until the bars close and take pictures with people. But and let's do a shot. Let's hang out. Let's have a good time.
You are definitely one of the more approachable guys out there. And I think part of the reason why is because the stories you tell, I mean, they're true stories. They're stories about you, especially when it comes to family, which, by the way, my wife thinks that your daughter Isla is just the coolest kid ever, even though they've never met. So,
let me tell you, this kid is so funny. We were camping over the summer, and we're in Georgia. And it's like 10 o'clock at night, which camping is very late, and we're at the fire, and all of a sudden we hear a gunshot, and everyone's looking at each other like we are frozen. And then we hear another gunshot right after it, and Isla looks at everyone in the campfire and goes, well, we know it's not a suicide. I mean, this kid is hilarious.
Oh, my God, that's the best thing ever. How much material does she give you for all your shows? That's awesome.
She gives me a ton. What's interesting is they're getting older, and they're getting a little more socially conscious. So jokes I would write and tell in our house, my daughters now have opinions on. Like when Elliot Page first transitioned, we were at the kitchen table, and my wife was like, hey, because we're big fans of Umbrella Academy. She was like, Elliot Page transitioned into a male. And I was like, wait, for real? And they're like, yeah. She's like, here's a picture. And she showed me a picture, and it was just all he did was put on a hat. And I was like, oh, you got to do more than a hat. And my daughter, Georgia, goes, hey, stop right there. And I went, what? She goes, you're not making that joke on stage. And I go, excuse me? She's like, no, I know where your brain's going, and you're not making that joke on stage. And I was like, and then I got defensive. I was like, you don't tell me what to tell on stage. And then she goes, no, I do. When I have to go to school and everyone's like, hey, is your dad that transphobic jackass that's spouting off jokes about Elliot Page on television? And I was like, good point. I was like, I'll hear you out.
I love when I was scrolling through the Wikipedia page, and a lot of people know that you were actually in Rolling Stone for being the top partier at the top party school when you were going to college. I love the Wikipedia page says that during your 6th year of college, and coming from a guy who did 8 years and should be a doctor but wasn't trying to be a doctor, just spent that much time in college, I totally relate with you just taking your sweet-ass time to go to school.
Oh, yeah. I look, man. I told my daughters, I was like, I don't know if college is even important these days. Like, if you want to go to college, go to college. And then I was like, no, wait, college is totally important. It teaches you how to behave around people your own age. It teaches you how to behave around people older than you. It teaches you how to go to a new city, move to a new city, gently get into a new city, find that is your hometown. And I was like, it's super important. I didn't learn a thing in college. I don't have one memory. Literally a learning memory. The only thing I really remember is the Stanford experiment. I remember hearing about that in freshman year, and I was like, I'm going to be a sociology major, psychology, whatever. By the way, I don't even know which one's which. So I didn't learn a thing in college, but I'll tell you what I learned is I learned how to I learned how to operate in Florida and live in Florida, which is a skill set in and of itself. And I feel like I could move back to Florida, sell boats. Like, the skill sets I learned in Tallahassee were how to be a people's person. And I feel like I could, if everything goes to the side, I could move back to Florida, sell boats in Orlando, sell cars in Tampa, get a job over at a dealership, and I could probably make my nut. Maybe be a fishing guide in Boca Grande, you know?
Right. When you were talking about the Stanford prison experiment, I thought you were about to say you wanted to spend your life being a science experiment study.
I was like, yeah. I was like, I'd make a great
test subject.
Yeah, I'd make a great subject. I want to shock people into pain.
There you go. I think you should take over that Florida Man hashtag and turn it into the positive parts of our Florida Man, because there are a lot of crazy people down here, but there are a lot of crazy people who do it in a good way like you.
You know, me and Segura had a script called Florida Men about two guys in Florida. Yeah, we developed it. I think the plot line was, if I'm not mistaken, we come into an inheritance. God, man, we wrote a script about it. It was a really good script. We come into a inheritance and we invest in cockatiels in the Bahamas, and we take a boat from West Palm to the Bahamas. We take a Boston whaler, and we fill up the Boston whaler with cockatiels that are all put in PVC pipes, and we get into a thunderstorm on our way back. It was a pretty good script.
You guys got to do that. You got to come down here, film it around the Tampa area too, so we can all be in it and make that movie happen. I'd be down with that one.
Yeah, Florida Men. God, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, By the way, I take great pride in being from Florida. I feel like we are the toughest first of all, we have the best sense of humor out of the entire country, and you don't realize how Florida your life was until you tell it to other people, and other people are like, you see the look on their face at the dinner party, and they're like, what did he say? And then your wife's like, oh, he grew up in Florida. And I'm like, wait, not everyone had two friends growing up that didn't have tongues? Like, that's Florida. Like, I had two friends, tongueless Brett and
That's the funniest damn thing. I'm mad now because I spent most of my childhood, most of my adult life in Texas too, and I'm much happier now that I'm in Florida. So I'm trying to become the Florida Man now.
Oh, bro, and I grew up in North Tampa in the 80s. Now, anyone from Tampa knows North Tampa was like undiscovered territory. I mean, we were considered settlers. We were in Lutz, and it wasn't what it is today. Like, now you look at it and you're like, oh, it's very developed. No, we had Lutz. There was a radio station when we moved to Lutz that we lost Tampa radio, right? And we got Lutz radio, and I remember pulling in to where my parents lived in Faircloth Estates, and the station changed over, and it said, the guy goes, downtown Lutz. Kick off your boots. Give a holler and a hoots. Yeehaw!
I actually spent my first year living in Tampa in Lutz, so I know exactly what you're talking about. But mine, like you said, it's a little more developed now, so I think you had more fun.
Way more developed. We had a kid across the lake from us that had an alligator. It was like, I remember we had to kick Native Americans off of our lot. That's how long ago it was. Just kidding. Just kidding.
That's
just so everyone knows, I play the Hard Rock in Tampa every now and then. I have a lot of friends out there. I hope they understand that's a joke.
All right, talking about movies, we got a couple minutes left before you got to get to, I'm sure, your next interview. You're finally having the movie about you come out that's actually about you, the machine. And not only that, you got freaking Luke Skywalker in the movie.
Yeah, tell me about it, man. I was blown away. You're very lucky you're very lucky to have any success in this business, but let alone to have a movie made about you. And I remember the first conference call we did, I was just like, oh my God, I'm talking to Luke Skywalker. This is the guy I wanted to be as a child. Every boy wants to be Luke Skywalker. He's the hero. And I got to live with him in 3 months in Serbia, and he was an amazing guy. Whether or not he would say the same about me is up in the air. I think I can be a tall drink, every now and then. I can be a lot to ask for. But he was I love Mark Hamill. He's one of the sweetest, most generous dudes alive.
Hey, on your Go Big show, you got Snoop Dogg on there. Who's more fun when you're high, you or him?
Oh, me. I'm way more fun. First of all, Snoop's high all the time, but we got high one night, and it was me, him, and Cody Rhodes. And once you're with Snoop, you get a little bit of cachet where you can FaceTime anyone, and anyone picks up their phone because they know you're with Snoop. And so we FaceTimed Rogan, we FaceTimed Dave Chappelle, we FaceTimed everyone. I was like, get Eddie Murphy's number. Let's FaceTime Eddie Murphy. I'm going through Snoop's phone, FaceTiming everyone.
I can see that. I love it. Hey, Bert, thanks so much for calling in this morning. When you come to Tampa, let's hang out and go have some fun, all right?
Done deal. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you.